What's up, sports fans? It's your man D back, speaking my sports talk. I sorry everybody. It took me a second to get this. I don't know if it was something with StreamYard or what, but man, I couldn't load my thumbnail or nothing. But whatever, I ain't worried about that thumbnail. Mr. Spooks, he said two hands did a live for 7 hours. I'm only getting 4 hours. Yeah, bro, I was just over there with him. That's crazy. That was a long time. L Dog in the building. What's good with your L Dog, South Croy? What's up with your Raider from LA, Glenn Avery? What's up, fam? So yeah, let me drop the link real quick. Let me see. Over boxing talk today. We talking about. I'm gonna talk about these young guns for a little bit. Put this link in the chat for everybody. Everybody that want to come up. All right, they got a link in the chat. Mrs. Spook said, "No, this happens constantly." Yeah, I know, man. I don't know what's going on with all this StreamYard, YouTube nonsense. Queen Lisa in the building. What's up? What's up? YouTube keep unsubscribing me from the chat. Yeah, I know, man. That's why I put that. I did that live the other day, and I know that this keeps happening. It's like, so just only thing I can say, guys, is just subscribe back. You know, hopefully, I'm not really too upset with it. What I don't like is the fact that they're unsubscribing guys like you that's active. You know what I mean? That actually comes to the channel. I wish they subscribe all of those dormant accounts, because I think all of our channel has accounts that's dormant. Like there's somebody that's subscribed and they don't never really come support. They never come to the lives. They don't come watch the videos. So I wish YouTube would unsubscribe those guys. You know what I mean? So just unsubscribe them. That way, when they're gone, they're probably never going to resubscribe because they're dormant anyway. Like, why would they hit somebody like L Dog or Glenn or Lisa? And it always comes. So if that happens to you guys, just hit it back. I mean, it's a pain in the butt. But what's up, L Dog?
Hey, what's up, D? Hey, just to make sure I hit the bell icon so that I'll still get notified, and I'll just click every time. Because for some reason, man, I've subscribed to this channel about 8, 9 times. They keep unsubscribing me. Like, it's weird, you know. Like, must be some error.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with YouTube. I've gotten a lot of DMs about that. That's why I did that that live the other day and was speaking on that, because it's happening not just to me, but to a lot of other channels. A lot of weird, crazy stuff happening. And you know, like Unrivaled, he came up and he talked on it. And, you know, he gave YouTube's explanations for why these things happen, but it's a pain, man, and it really affects the channels. Like if somebody subscribed to you and they want to, you know, hit the bell, it's what YouTube tells us to do. Make sure you tell your subscribers to hit the bell and subscribe to you. Well, if we're telling them to subscribe to us and hit the bell, and then you idiots are unsubscribing them, what the hell? You know what I mean? It's like it's counterproductive. But anyway, outside of that, I don't know why I wore this hat with this green bottom in it. But outside of that, Ryan Garcia, the fans, Ryan Garcia, all of these young guns, a lot of these young fighters coming up. I don't care if it's Dubois, even some of these guys, Virgil and Boots, Ennis, and, you know, a lot of these guys. You know, I think at some levels, it's like a mixed crowd, a mixed situation with the fans, or some fans just totally don't know what they want from these kids. Because you look at the Ryan Garcia situation, and I've been guilty of this myself, and being kind of harsh on these kids and the things that they say. But when you look at the Ryan Garcia situation, okay, and outside of the money, I'm not talking about him crying about the 200,000 or any of that, but I'm just talking about this most recent statement where he was saying, if you don't have the faith in me, then release me. Okay, so it gets a fine line in a lot of fans' mind where It's not that they don't have the faith in you, it's that they're trying to tell you to slow down and lead you up the right path and so forth and so on. Some fans is like, okay, well, that's the right way to go. Wait a minute, Ryan, maybe you should listen to him. But then on another perspective, what is it that a lot of these fans ask for and say that's missing in boxing today? Well, what it is that fans ask for and what they say is missing in boxing today is a level of dedication, being a gym rat, working on the craft in the sport, fighting the best. Now, you have a lot of these young guns that are doing such. They are gym rats. They are studying their craft. They desire to fight the best, but because of the way that the sport moves, it prevents them from doing it maybe as quickly as they want to do it. We can always say this kid is not ready, that kid is not ready, but we've heard this time and time again throughout history, and we've seen kids at the time throughout history defy the odds. That's what makes athletes great. This is what made some of the old school greats great. They did it at an age that no one believed that they could do it. Cassius Clay, Iron Mike Tyson. When no one thought that they would do it. They're too young. They're too green. This man's been fighting for this long. But still they came and they defied the odds. So what is it that the fans truly want? That's the question. You say that you want these kids to be great like they were in the past, but at the same time, you wish to prevent these kids from achieving greatness. You don't want to see them move forward. You think that it's too early. So when do we balance this out? And that's what today's discussion is about. That's what I want to talk about today. Where's the balance in this? Where do we go from here with this?
Yo, well, dog, you a bitch, man. You a beast, man.
Man, I'm a be honest. Like,
yo, shut the fuck up, man. You a bitch, man.
All right, I'll have faith.
Hey, D. So that was a pretty big question, though. You want me to talk about the Ryan Garcia situation?
I mean, we could talk about Ryan, Devin, Haney, but I just wanted to kind of give a landscape, a scope of where
that's a good
the boxing fans are. Just like what this discussion is truly about. I wanted to kind of summarize it.
Look, can I talk about the Ryan thing, or do you want that dog too?
Yeah,
either one of y'all can jump in there.
Right. So, look, I'm all for the kid talking about, so y'all don't have the faith in me, just release me. Well, what you're talking about is in relation to your payments, right? Right now, they don't think you're grossing enough money to pay you that. Now, in terms of paying you a certain amount, if you go and take fights and you beat guys, you'll start making that money. But if they suddenly give you $2-3 million, right? You're going to be getting overpaid, expecting way too much too early. And the other thing about it is, how do they actually know that you're not just in this for a bit and then leaving? You could look for Porsches of $2 million, get 3 Porsches, $6 million, go back into your modeling with your Instagram, retire, and be good for the rest of your life and not care. So they need to get their investment out of you too. They need to make money out of you. They can't take a loss on you to pay you what you want. That's not about faith. That's about business.
Right. So when I started it off, I was saying, I don't want to talk about the money side of it, but this statement also was concerning Mark, the fact that De La Hoya wanted to go the WBO route. And Ryan didn't want to go that route. It was Ryan that wanted to go the Luke Campbell route. So he got aggravated from that. So I read, this is something coming from Ryan. He was aggravated from that situation that they would rather him take the easy road the way he was looking at it. Can I
tell you something?
Hold on, let me finish. And then take the easy road. So again, the money part, that's why I X'd the money part out in the beginning, because I'm not with Ryan on this prima donna shit and crying about the money. But if his idea was also the fact that he don't want to go no WBO route. He want to fight this guy, Luke Campbell, the WBC route, the guy that people are saying he can't beat. That's the point. Like, let's stick here because this is what is upsetting the kid. And to me, this is the controversy with the fans, because they're saying, oh, these kids don't want to be great. But at the same time, these kids that are in the gym, are practicing their craft, and want to fight the Luke Campbells instead of a fucking TBO, we're also criticizing that as well as fans. Now, maybe not you, Mark, but again, to stay in context with the conversation, a lot of fans are throwing shade at these kids because of it.
Yeah, a lot of fans are. Now, what I'll say is this comes down to our sport and how it is right now, right? So a kid who wants to go and fight Luke Campbell instead of Emmanuel to go, I respect that, right? I respect it as a fan. Do I understand where the promoter is coming from? I can get this kid a guaranteed world title fight because pretty much he has a much higher chance of beating to go than he does of Campbell. Do I understand that? Absolutely, I understand it. I understand their job as his promoter is to get him into the best possible positions. And Emmanuel to go isn't a bad fighter. He's a good enough fighter. He's a top 15 kind of guy. He's solid. He can give him issues. Is that a problem? No. But if Ryan wants to take Campbell fight, take the Campbell fight. But just remember, don't go crying or complaining that you were matched badly when you wanted to take the fight. That's all I want. Don't cry that you were matched badly, because you know that there are people who'll be like, oh, he was matched badly. I don't want the fans to do it either. This was his choice. They wanted him to have an easier fight. They wanted to get him into that. Do you know where I'm coming from, D? Surely you can.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, I understand that. Let me get some shout-outs right quick. Some people that stepped in the building. South Korea in the building. What's good with your fam? Fighters are emotional beings. They have to be careful how they handle them. Yeah, no doubt. Prime fighting champions in the building. What's up? Remember, De La Hoya, Chavez, 23, Canelo, 23. Right. No doubt. Tomoko, what's up, Tomoko? Appreciate you coming through. Tomoko out there living it up. God damn it. This stupid ass thing. Carlos Mendoza, I see you step in the building. This thing don't went haywire on me, man. What is up with StreamYard today? You been having any problems with StreamYard today, Mark?
No.
I've been having issues. Maybe it's my computer. Ron, for real, what's up? I just bought this damn thing. I don't know. But yeah, I just think like this about fans. Now, the Rovers, they do have their job. There he is, Carlos Mendoza. What's good with you? Craig Smith, what's up? Miguel, what's up? There it is. It popped back in, guys. All right. With the promoters and stuff, I get it. But see, here's the thing. Ryan Garcia wants nobody knows Emmanuel, bro. Like, not only you know him, Mark, but you know a lot of fucking fighters nobody know. And when I say nobody, I don't mean anybody. I just mean the average casual fan, the fans that drive all sports, the casual.
Yeah, a lot of people, including quite a few hardcores, have never watched Emmanuel to go fight.
Right. And so people know who Luke Campbell is, especially his last fight being Lomachenko. They know the guy. And if Ryan Garcia can get past this guy, it means so much more. Plus, for the fighters, the illustrious green belt. So all of this is at play here. You know what I mean? All of this is at play. So I just think that these kids, man, like I said, people told Ali he wasn't going to be listed. And the list goes on and on of people who they told these young fighters that what they weren't going to do. And they did it. People are telling Teofimo Lopez right now he is not going to beat Lomachenko. And if he goes in there and spark Lomachenko out, there'll be a million of excuses why, but still he'll go in there and he will spark Lomachenko out. And my thing is this. These phenomenons, as people may see them, exist in sports. This is what makes the greats great. So we cannot cry to have these phenomenons return to sports, and the kids that are trying to do it is actually dedicating themselves, that's in the gym, that's learning their craft. Yes, they have a better opportunity to promote themselves because of social media, but still these kids are dedicating themselves. Don't tell me Teofimo is not dedicating himself. Look at how he's fit. Don't tell me Devin Haney is not dedicating himself. Look at his fit and physique. Shakur Stevenson, Ryan Garcia. They're not Tank Davis's fat in between fights around and all of this. No, they're doing the things that we asked for, and they're crying to fight the better fights like we're asking for, not to be let alone the whole time like Tank Davis, because we don't want that either. So my thing is that fans are asking for this, and these young fighters are doing the right things, attempting to give them this, and then they're getting bashed for it at the same time. This is the atmosphere that I'm seeing. Like, they're bashing them for them attempting to do what you're actually asking them to do.
Hey, I saw an interesting thing about this whole Ryan Garcia situation, right? So about how he wants more money, etc., and bunch of this. Do you guys think Ryan Garcia has brought more subscribers to DAZN than Gennady Golovkin?
I don't have any idea.
Because in all honesty, I think Ryan Garcia has brought more subscribers to DAZN than Golovkin has, and look at how much Golovkin's being paid.
Yeah. I would really like to stay away at my best. You know, I keep deflecting from it because I would really, when Mark kind of went through it, I deflected from it, L-Dog. I really want to stay away from the money part of it, because the money part of it, like, I get it. Because I know that somebody else might join the panel and they may mention the money part of it. This kid bitching about money. Okay, I get it. I get all of that. My thing is this, though. Hey, look. When it comes to the boxing fans' perspective of it, you know, we as fans, and I was even guilty of it, because I called him crying Garcia and all of this, and I kind of was a little bit pedantic myself when it came to the aspect of some of these young fighters. We as fans, we want them. We don't want another Tank Davis. Let's all admit and accept and agree on this. We don't want another Tank Davis. We don't want to fight 26 fights in. He's 24 years old now, and he hasn't proven but this much. Now, we don't desire that, okay? So when is it like, when does the point come, does the fans release the reins and say, okay, go out here? Because for the fans say Floyd brought this poison to boxing, the old must not go, right? But then some of these young fighters they're willing to go out there and lose. If they're saying that they want to fight this best guy, then there's an opportunity to lose, right? So that means they're willing to go out there and lose. No?
True.
Right. So then now that they're willing to go out there to lose, they're still getting bashed for that from fans.
Yeah, I mean...
See, Teofimo Lopez, despite all of this shit the fans said, went right down that path. Now, let's pay attention. Let's pay attention to this. Only 2 fights ago, Nakatani, then Comey, the fans were saying the same shit about Teofimo Lopez. He better shut his mouth about Lomachenko. This kid is stupid. This is just 2 fights ago. He was stupid. His father was out of his mind. Blah, 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 blah about Lomachenko. Now you see the tide shifting. Already, 2 fights later with Teofimo, the tide is shifting, and people are saying, yeah, he can beat Lomachenko. Only 2 fights later. But
true,
they're still saying the same shit about Ryan, the same shit about Shakur, the same shit about Devin Haney. We're still hearing the same thing said about these kids. They haven't even had the opportunity to go and prove it like Teofimo. But the same things are being said about them that was just said about Teofimo 2 fights ago before Nakatani. The same stuff. So where is this balance? That's my question with the where's the balance?
Well, I mean, I don't think there is any, because people are just haters. Like myself, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a Ryan Garcia hater. I'm not gonna give the guy credit, man, because I'm just a hater. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, Boxing Monster in the building, France on 2. Miguel, Kalua Z, what's up? What's up? And yeah, and that's the thing, That's why, you know, if Ryan Garcia is going to get in position, such as a Teofimo Lopez, if Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson, Boots Ennis, Virgil Ortiz. Okay, let's look at Virgil Ortiz right now. Right, and guys, think about this. Now, like I said, 2 fights ago, many people, my brother, I see y'all there, France. Now, I'm on to you too, my friend, my brother, France in the building. What's up with you? So, just 2 fights ago, the fans was talking this nonsense about Teofimo Lopez. Now, 2 fights later, he's scheduled to fight Lomachenko, and fans are actually on his side. They're dying for the fight. They're thirsty for the fight. So let's take a look at Virgil Ortiz in this situation right now. Okay? Virgil Ortiz is calling out who? Terrence Crawford. And fans are saying the same shit about Virgil Ortiz as they were saying 2 fights ago about Teofimo Lopez.
Right.
Wake up, more guys. Wake up. They're saying the same shit about Virgil Ortiz that they were saying 2 fights ago about Teofimo Lopez. Because it's Terrence Crawford. No, hold on. We're not going to water this down. Because Lomachenko is a pound-for-pound fighter, arguably #1 on people's list, the same as Terrence Crawford. So we're not going to water this down. And people are not giving Virgil Ortiz the chance. They're saying he can't do it. Well, here's something that we can say. Terrence Crawford still has a little more to prove at 147. Virgil Ortiz still has a little more to prove at 147. Is that not right? Can we not say that? Yes, we can say that. And again, if Virgil Ortiz in his camp feel confident, this young kid can get the job done, beat the big, bad Terrence Crawford. And then he went in there and he beat the big, bad Terrence Crawford. This would be one of the anomalies, one of the phenomena.
He'll become a superstar.
Right, one of the great fights that we've seen in boxing in the past. But what are fans doing? Is a lot of fans trashing Virgil Ortiz. Man, he ain't beat no Crawford. This kid better blah 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 blah. You heard it. You heard the fans. And they were just doing that 2 fights ago with Teofimo, calling his dad nuts, calling me a fanboy and everything else. Right? Where's the balance?
No, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Like, you can't say you want to see the best fight the best and then criticize these guys for wanting to challenge themselves. You know, they're young, they're hungry, and I actually think some of these fights would be damn good fights.
Yeah, and I think that the fans need to, not be quite as pedantic when it comes to these young fighters. We just don't know. The thing is, we really don't know. This is like, maybe we would get the excitement that we look. Jerome Boots Ennis, Virgil Ortiz, a lot of these fighters, they're not going to cost a mint to put in the ring, especially a Jerome Boots Ennis. So regardless if you think he's ready, he's moving too fast. At this day and time when boxing these fights, what if he gets in there and give Crawford a hell of a fight? That's what we want to see as fans. And even if Jerome Boots Ennis loses, forget about the Floyd Mayweather, must not go. What if he gains valuable experience as Canelo did in his loss to Floyd? What if Boots Ennis gains valuable experience in that loss to Crawford, moves on, and becomes great, such as Canelo did to Floyd? This is what the fans want. But they would crucify Boots Ennis. You ain't fought nobody yet. What do you mean get in there with Crawford? Where the fuck is the balance? And that's what I'm saying. Like, we want this. And these fighters believe they can do this. They're in the gym. They're studying their craft. Because of the politics, they're not getting to fight the best guys or getting to fight what some people would consider gatekeepers, because this network over here or Top Rank, or they don't want to feed that gatekeeper to this young fighter, because that gatekeeper will lose stock in all of this bullshit that's going on with politics and boxing. So they're not getting the opportunity. So these kids are like, well, forget it then. These guys are not as dedicated as they were back in the past, which we all believe and agree with that. These guys are not gym rats like we are now. These guys are freaking stars sitting up there not doing what they're supposed to do. I'll fight them. I'm in the gym. I'm dedicated. I'm like the guys from the past. I will fight them. And I think that some of these young fighters will upset these guys because they're not upholding the same practices. Look at Andy Ruiz. He's ranked amongst the top heavyweights, but you got young guns like Jalalov and Hergovich and
Talk
Dubois.
to him, D. Talk to him. Hergovich, man.
Hungry, that's ready to fight. While you got Andy Ruiz up there eating cheeseburgers and tacos and messing around, turning down big fights. Hey, let's give these young fighters a chance. But the first thing a lot of fans want to say is, oh, no, they're not ready.
Hey,
where's
D,
the balance?
Can I speak
Where's
on
the
this
balance?
quickly, man? I think
Go
we
ahead,
see
go ahead.
this. I think we see this the most in the heavyweight division, man. Look at how many old contenders are still there just looking for one more title shot against AJ to get a paycheck. Like Kubrat Pulev, Alexander Povetkin. I've been saying, man, Hergovich is ready to fight Dillian White. And every time they say, oh, who's Hergovich? He'll get smashed. He's fighting Povetkin. Povetkin is 40 years old, coming off a draw and a knockout loss to AJ. Why not let a young gun, who's bigger than Povetkin physically, way younger, way more hungry? Why not let this guy fight Dillian White? This would be a hell of a fight, in my opinion. And we need to see, out with the old, in with the new type of thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, and like I said, it's also a culture of the loss. There's also a culture of that in boxing where people value this loss so much that they feel like it's going to destroy a fighter's stock, or and they're not going to be able to do anything. Can they come back off the loss or whatever? That's also a problem with the culture in boxing, and why there's this contradiction on: do they want the young fighters to achieve and move forward, or do you want to keep saying that they're not ready? Because we don't know. This is the thing about a prospect. It's like I said about Otto Wallin going into the Fury fight. You can call Otto Wallin a bum, but you know nothing about Otto Wallin. They're a prospect because we don't know if they're good enough yet to compete or if they're not good enough to compete. The only thing we know about them being a prospect is that they're undefeated and they show good signs that they could potentially compete with the best of them. So if we don't have that answer, then what's to say that a Philip Hergovich could not go in there and knock out a Dillian White? What's to say that a Dan Dubois could not go in there and knock out a Alexander Povetkin? What is to say that Jalalov could not go in there and knock out a Derek Chisora? We don't know this because they're prospects. But it's almost like sometimes the fans restrict the prospects from attempting to prove it because they bash them when they go down that road. They said the kid's ahead of himself. He's moving too quick. How do we know this?
Exactly.
Brian.
Yo, why did you have to mention that man's name? You know that gets held dog up in the...
But I'm telling you guys this, man. Too many people are saying Hergovich ain't ready for Dillian White, etc., etc. But look, let's just see it, man. I want to see, a young guy who is already a contender, already showing promising signs in his physical prime, great amateur background. I would rather see him fight White than see Povetkin, who is old, past his prime, smaller, whatever. Yeah, he's more accomplished, but look, he's old, man. We need to see the young guys coming through trying to take out the established contenders.
No, I just know your dick got hard once he mentioned Hergovich.
What's up, Tony?
Dog, why that doesn't happen in boxing, all right? So UFC has a better model at all times, but the difference in boxing and UFC is, in UFC, you can let a young guy go up there lose and gain experience. But in boxing, if Hrgovic goes in there against White, gets flattened, everybody will call him a bum. He'll lose all credibility because one loss in boxing automatically means you're a bum. Look at AJ. When he lost to Ruiz, everybody was calling him a bum. Boxing fans are very fickle and they don't like to see losses, whereas UFC, you can have 100 losses and still be considered great. That's the problem with boxing. It's the boxing culture.
Well, and that's a good point because Dillian White already has one loss, and when Hrgovic hands him that second loss, it's going to be a career ender, man. His career is going to be over. Like, boxing fans are really going to think that he's a bum when Hrgovic flattens him inside 6 rounds.
Well, I'd rather see White get a title shot with Fury, tell you the truth, for Fury.
No,
he freaking deserved that.
Would you rather see White Povetkin or White Hrgovic?
At this point, White Hrgovic, but
exactly.
You know.
Because look, even though Povetkin is more accomplished, Olympic gold medalist, former WBA regular champion, I respect that. But he is 40 years old and he is not looking his best in his recent fights. I would rather see White fight a young killer than an old contender,
White already did that in Oscar Rivas, who is much more established, amateur and professional than Hrgovic. So
no, he's not.
Say that. Yes, he is. What?
No, he's not.
Rivas is way better than Hrgovic. What?
No, he's not. How is he a more established amateur? He doesn't have an Olympic medal, and his best accomplishment in the amateurs was a silver in the Pan American Games, whereas Filip Hrgovic got a gold medal in the European Championships. Hrgovic is way more established than Rivas was in the amateurs, and Hrgovic is younger than Rivas. He's way bigger than Rivas. Come on, man.
You're going to say the European Championship, then downgrade the Pan American, like they're not on the same level.
Because he didn't even win the Pan American.
An Olympic gold medal here.
How is he a more established amateur? How is he more established amateur?
How is he better? So let's look at who Oscar Rivas beat. He beat Andy Ruiz. He beat Tony.
Tony, hold on for a second. Fam. All right, now, guys, let's not make this a debate about Filip Hrgovic. Everybody knows that L-Dog is a complete Filip Hrgovic fanboy.
Fact.
Mention his name.
So, dude, I agree.
I had to correct this guy, man, because he made some stupid
point that I was making on L-Dog was lost on him. The point was, the reason why you don't see a guy like Hrgovic get in there with a White is because his handlers do not want to risk him losing, because if he loses early in his career against Dillian White, who's not a world champion at the time, who has already been beat, then he's automatically bum status from the beginning.
Right, Tony. You're right about all that. Now, the way you wanted to break that down and explain that to L-Dog, I get you. Let me explain this to you, Tony. That ain't the goddamn topic, fam. The topic is how the fans flip-flop on these young fighters and what is it that they truly want. Because at the same time, the fans will, I understand the dynamics of boxing. We just talked about that on Mr. Two-Hand Show. Yeah. But I want to get your opinion, Tony, and your views on the topic of this live. And the topic is, fans want these young fighters. They love the nostalgia of the 90s and the days in the past, and they want these young fighters to achieve and seek greatness like that. But when they take the time out and go in that direction, they're getting criticized. They're being told they're not ready. And what I said to Tony was just 2 fights ago, when we talk about Ryan Garcia being ready for this person, or Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson being ready, just 2 fights ago, and I used Virgil Ortiz as an example, calling out Crawford. Fans were saying the same exact thing about Teofimo Lopez, considering Lomachenko 2 fights ago, as they're saying about Virgil Ortiz calling out Crawford right now. He ain't no way, blah, 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 blah. So what does it do the fans truly want? Do they want these young fighters that look really strong to achieve and try to fight the best? Or do you want to hold them back when they take that path?
I look at this 2 ways. I look at it as there's fans like us, and then there's the majority casual fan, right? I think the majority casual fan wants the Deontay Wilder effect, They want to see lesser opposition, and these guys look spectacular. Whereas more diehard fans want to see young guys move forward. But again, I think most of the criticism comes from the handlers. I think it's the promoters and the news outlets that try to prevent it because they don't like, for instance, Ryan Garcia versus Luke Campbell, right? He's getting criticized for that. But Ryan Garcia is doing everything that a true fan would want to see him do. He's fighting the harder fight, in my opinion, is Luke Campbell.
For sure.
But he's getting criticized for it, almost as if it's like the media's in cahoots with Golden Boy to try to stop the fight so there's not a risk of him losing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because honestly, and I said this before, but before I say this, France, box fans, my man, 20 grand, appreciate you on the super chat, man. Really appreciate you. So I said this before, man, when it comes to, see, and again, a lot of it has to do with the fans, bro, and the expectations of these fighters. You know what I mean? These promoters, they got to move in a certain way, what's best for the fighters, but also to appease the fans. Now, I agree with you totally, but Eddie Reynoso said himself. Everybody's talking about Eddie Reynoso said he's confident that Ryan Garcia could beat Luke Campbell and all that. And I say that he's supposed to say that as a trainer. He got to show confidence and stand behind his fighter. But Eddie Reynoso also said himself that he thought Ryan needed 2 or 3 fights before he jumped in the ring with Devin Haney or Tank Davis. Now, clearly, I put Luke Campbell on the level of Devin Haney and Tank Davis. And deep down inside, if Eddie Reynoso felt like he needed 2 or 3 fights to get in the ring with them, then he really feels like he might need 2 or 3 fights to get in the ring with Luke Campbell. But Ryan doesn't feel that way. And Ryan's pushing the pencil on this thing, okay? So at every level, they may be behind the scenes trying to slow this fight down because they really think he needs 2 or 3 fights before he gets into this caliber fight.
Okay, guys. I need a narrative that's going on right now where people are talking about how UFC has like the fans forgive losses. The reason UFC fan forgives losses is because you tend to have people fighting their same level of competition. Unlike with boxing at the current moment, where all the people who are in their prime are fighting a bunch of like subpar competition and spanning their stats. So when they look bad against subpar competition, you're gonna be criticized a lot more than you would be if you're fighting top level competition. If they're fighting, like if we had a bunch of like high profile fights fighting each other all the time, those fighters who got losses, nobody would care about. They'll be just like UFC, just like in the past where we would support boxers. Like Go has 5, 6 losses, and people still consider one of the greatest. It's not that fans are bashing on the fighter because they lose a fight. It's because no, they're not fighting anybody. Obvious wins. So of course, if you look bad in an obvious win, people are going to criticize you more than if you're fighting a top of the competition.
So here's Louis, also, like I said earlier, before you jumped on, it has to do with the culture that Floyd Mayweather brought to boxing. It's not all about, I get what you're saying, the level of competition in the UFC, and people always want to compare boxing in the UFC. It really needs to stop being done because it's a different culture. There's a different hunger. Fighters in the UFC, listen. Here's the benefit of not paying fighters a lot of money. Here's the benefit of fighters not being able to bounce around from this network to that network and get money that they want and do less. Here's the benefit of that for all the people who keep trying to compare boxing to UFC. The benefit in that for the sport is that these fighters stay fucking hungry. So we need to stop trying to correlate or compare what's going on in boxing to the UFC because it ain't the same atmosphere. It's not the same culture. It's like it's no comparison. It's like comparing apples and oranges almost at every level when fans try to do this. Those fighters in the UFC are hungry, and Dana White keeps them hungry. He pays them pennies. But over here in boxing, they have too many options. They can go to Hearn. They can go to Top Rank. They can go to Golden Boy. All they have to have is talent. In UFC, you can have the talent and still not get paid. So people, stop trying to compare the UFC atmosphere and what goes on there and why it goes on there to what happens in boxing. So I first want to say that. So let's cancel that shit. It's apples and oranges. But
Can I?
when
Sorry.
you look at the sport of boxing and these and the atmosphere and why things happen over here on this side, I understand what you're saying about the level of competition, but it's more concerning that atmosphere and that culture that the Floyd Mayweather era and what he did is concerning that and what that brought to boxing, and that this old must not go, because the old must not go mentality is now Kaluazi associated with your stock in boxing. And because boxing now associates the old must not go mentality with a boxer's stock, this means that they take that L, then they make less money in a fight. And the sad part is that the promoters, the guys that's responsible for paying them, they actually apply this disgusting ideology that Floyd put in. They apply it to the fighters. They will say, oh, well, he's taking a loss, so that means he's worth less. So if the promoters didn't do that, then that mentality wouldn't exist. But the promoters will do that to their paycheck. So this is why we need to stop kind of associate that with what goes on in the UFC, because it's a totally different atmosphere. We can't do that. And it's more or less that ideology that Floyd Mayweather established on boxing. It's a fucking poison. This old must not go. It's a poison on every level at boxing. The mentality of these fighters, the way the promoters are able to manipulate their situations using that mentality, and that's the poison, more or less, the level of competition. I'm not trying to contradict you. I'm just saying that, again, I follow both sports, and I don't think it's more or less that level of competition idea. It's more this poison that the old must not go. That shit is what's the problem.
Hey, D, let me piggyback off of what you said about that, just to reinforce it, so to say. So that's the point I was making earlier about the difference in the culture between boxing and UFC. Now, he mentioned levels, right? This boxers lose to people not on their level. However, let's look at Deontay Wilder. Regardless how you feel about the man, he was undefeated, 10 title defenses. He got beat by somebody on the same level as him, who proved to be a higher level, Tyson Fury, who is arguably could be the best boxer in all of boxing at the moment. We don't know till he gets in there with AJ and White, but he could be the very best. He got beat by the best, and by being beat by the best, now people say he's been trash all along that were just saying he was a good fighter. The same people who said he was good now say he's trash. That's what I'm talking about. And D's right. It is that Mayweather mentality. If you get an O, then you suck because you got an O. And that's just not the reality of boxing. It's never been that way until Mayweather.
Okay. About Wilder, people were criticizing Wilder's resume before he had that loss. This was his step-up fight, and he lost. That's why he got so much criticized. It's like he proved the haters wrong. And on top of that, anytime like a lot of Wilder hate doesn't even come from Wilder itself. It comes from the LB, whatever they're called. Most of the people, if you're associated with that brand, you're gonna get hated on no matter what, because people hate them. So indirectly, they hate Wilder and they hate Spence.
Yeah. Can I say a few words?
Yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. What I want to see with these young prospects, I want to see them fighting each other, then take the step up. I want to see who the next level is. I want a Ryan Garcia and a Devin Haney to fight. I want to see who's better between those two. Then step up, fight Luke Campbell. Then go to Lomachenko. Yeah,
I would like to see that atmosphere too. Like, that's why I think these tournaments are a good idea. If they could establish more tournaments, and I'm gonna move into that later. So I get where you're coming from with that, but look at the perspective of this, Brian. If these kids fight another fighter, I don't care if it's a gatekeeper, journeyman, or whatever, but they're on the level or higher than that prospect. I would like to see the fight with that prospect, but they've already beaten someone on a higher level than that prospect. So it's time for them to move on. I don't want to get it tangled up where it's this marination or fucking around with making the fight because it's another, popular prospect. No, let the fighter move on and keep moving up. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's about achieving, getting to that title, fighting the best. And even though that other prospect is bright, he ain't the damn best. You know what I'm saying? We want to see these guys fight the best. Those
but it's the next level, D.
That they ain't the best yet. You know what I mean?
What I'm trying to say is there's levels.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
I get that,
and
but that's where fans get the see, Brian. That's the thing. That's what this conversation is about too. I think that's where fans kind of hold these kids to restriction. Yes, there's levels to the game, but was there not those same levels in between Cassius Clay and Sonny Liston? Yes, there's levels to the
So
game.
there was. Think about this,
everyone
D.
said Liston was
D.
going to
Think
murder
about
him.
this. I don't know if I'm lagging.
Cassius
Think
Clay.
about this. Leon Spinks took on Ali with only 7 fights. Leon Spinks, a
Right.
prospect, came up, fought. He lost the second time they fought, but the first one he won. He dared to be great. Throughout the history of boxing, you've always had guys daring to be great. D is very correct in what he said about the Mayweather effect. These guys no longer dare to be great because they're too scared to lose their O, because that's what boxing culture has become. Mayweather really ruined it.
Yeah.
Because
That
before him, think about this. Before him, Manny Pacquiao was considered great. Manny Pacquiao had already been knocked out. He had already had losses to like Barrera, I believe it was. He had losses, but he was still considered a pound for pound great. But it seems like after Mayweather, every guy who's a pound for pound has to be undefeated. They have to be.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe not
Lomachenko
but that's an exception.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. Mayweather has brought this because they saw with Mayweather it was successful money wise, and he brought that money. He brought the big money. He got the big money deals with wasn't HBO. Oh Jesus Christ, Showtime. He got that big money deal with Showtime. He got this was a 6-card fight deal. And that's where they see that's their model. It's not about being great anymore. They don't give a damn about being great. It's getting in, not getting injured, not getting hurt too badly, making as much money as you can, stepping out of the game, ready for the next bunch of fighters to come along. That's the way boxing is. Maybe we have to accept that, but I want to see, before they get to the world championships, I want to see them go level by level by level by level. That's where these guys should be now. They should be, there's too many world champions now that hasn't fought anyone. Like hasn't fought decent fighters. We all know this part of boxing. A lot of young guys now are holding titles that they shouldn't. There's too many fucking titles in boxing. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's lack of incentive, because if you got 4 choices and you pick the easy choice and you pick that title up, you're not proving yourself as a fighter. You're just saying, I'm just in it for the money. I just want the title, move up to the next level, pick a bum on that, move up a weight, pick a bum on that weight, then move down a weight, pick up a bum on that weight. Boxers, at least Pacquiao, when he won fucking titles, he fought legit champions. That's, you know what I mean? Like, Pacquiao didn't duck anyone. That's why Pacquiao was considered a legend.
Well, what do you
That's
got
right.
to
He didn't duck anyone, and even though he got losses along the way because he never ducked anyone, because he didn't need that marination. See, but they marinate stuff so much now that the meat disintegrates. There's nothing left of it by the time it's done marinating nowadays. And I was wrong. The person in the chat corrected me. It was Morales, and there was a whole thing about, he drew blood before the fight, and that's why he lost. Yeah, you're right. I don't know why I said Barrera, but Barrera and Morales is back and forth anyway, so they go hand in hand with each other.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You can't say one without saying the other. What do you think of Morales? You think of Barrera?
About this whole nobody fighting anybody. The new young guys are trying to look for these big fights. They're trying to people say they don't want to reach their own anymore, but these new batch of young guys, they're looking at it, trying to lose their own. They just hurry up and run a fight the best of the best. You got Ryan Garcia, trying to get a fight with Crawford, Ortiz, trying to fight. Ryan, Campbell, Ortiz. He wants to fight Crawford. Haney wants to fight anybody who willing to fight him. And I think all these people keep on saying that these current guys aren't ready. The reason they're saying that is to protect the older guys, because more likely if their guy loses, it proves everybody right that there were guys who were just high jobs and weren't fighting anybody. And that's why a lot of people say, okay, this guy's not ready yet because they know these guys are hungry. They want to win. And when you're hungry, you want to win, you can make stuff happen.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, you don't know until you get in the ring. That's at the end of the day. At the end of the day, if you're stepping up a level, you do not know. You can talk the shit, but you do not know if you can back it up until you step in the ring and look that guy in the eye and say, I'm going to go to war with you, or I'm going to box you, or however the fight goes. No one knows. So we can speculate all we want. People can say Teofimo Lomachenko. A lot of people can say Loma is going to outbox the kid. Well, he may surprise everyone. This is this is not a pussy footing sport at the end of the day. This is hard hitting. This is boxing. All it takes is one punch to change a fight, and nobody frickin' knows what's going to happen. That's the beauty of sports. That's why we all love sports, because on any given day, an underdog can have his day, and on any given day, someone could step up and surprise us, and they can dare to be great, and they actually turn out to be that way. Somebody looks at them and go, he ain't going to be great. He may turn out to prove you wrong. He may have a harder work ethic than everybody else, or he may be the most naturally talented guy, and you look at him on the surface, well, he ain't going to do. But in general, when a boxer comes through at that level, we know all about them before they get to the, we know their amateur records, us, boxing fans. We know who they fought. We know what titles they won in the amateurs. We know their records. We looked at their records. We know what they've done in the sport of boxing. So, like, for us, it may not be a surprise, but for the casual boxing fan, it is a surprise. Any underdog can have his day, but, you don't know that until you get in the ring and say, I want to fight the best. And that's what Ryan Garcia is doing here. He's taking the harder fight. He's going, I want to fight Luke Campbell. Virgil Ortiz is saying, I want to fight Bud Crawford. And Teofimo Lopez saying, I'm going to fight Lomachenko. These guys are saying we're ready, but we don't know that until they get in the ring.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Official scorecard. What's up with you? My man Sacramento jumped in the building. I see you, Sacramento. Sorry, Sporting Advantage missing 2 hands up. I wasn't trying to interrupt you there, Brian. And
I finished.
Father Fenton, what's up with you, my man? Appreciate that, Father Fenton, with the 20
Is that Mark?
What was that, Brian?
Is that Mark? Yeah.
I'm not sure. Mark has a ton of
yeah.
James Jackson, my son, in the building. Oh, hold on. Let me do that right now.
That's from a show called Father Ted.
Father Ted?
Yeah, it's from a show, an Irish show called Father Ted. That's why I'm thinking it might be Mark.
It could be Mark. Mark always surprised me with something new, so I wouldn't deny it. Well, just to stick to the theme, though, I do want to get back to these young fighters, and man, look, let me. All right, James, I got you, dog. I got you right now. Hold up. All right, hold on, son. I got you. Let me do this right quick. All right. There you go, James. All right. Well, yeah, it's Mark. That's Mark. Father Fenton. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate you, dog. Mark Wood. I tell you, Mark never surprised me. So, let me put that back up. Father Fenton. Yeah. So back to the thing. These young fighters, man. Again, I say let them go, because it's a two-edged sword. Like, that ass whooping can humble them, or mentally ruin them. But either way, it's sort of like as parents. As parents, we teach our kids what we think they need to know before they stretch and go out there and do their own thing. But once it's time for them to stretch and go out there and do their own thing, we got to release the reins. We got to let them go out there and do their own things. If they struggle and get some lumps, we got to let them get some lumps. That's what life is about. And it seems like fans don't want to release the reins on some of these young fighters. You got to let them go get their lumps. Now, how they adapt to the lumps mentally, whether good or bad, is also a part of the journey. That's also what makes the great fighters great, because they can take these losses. They can learn from them. Canelo Alvarez, he didn't get mentally weak. He didn't fall apart. He lost to Floyd. He took from the fight. He took a lot from the fight. He studied. He learned. And he'll go down as one of the great fighters. And so this is what maybe we need to release the reins on some of these guys. Because if Teofimo Lopez goes in here and beats Lomachenko, I need everybody to remember, as I said, just 2 fights ago, they were saying that he was the same type of crazy, and they're not talking about that 2 fights later. They're actually saying that the same type of crazy 2 fights ago has a chance to win this fight. And we don't know if Ryan Garcia, Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Boots Ennis, Virgil Ortiz, Daniel Dubois, Philippe Pergovich, Jalalov. We don't know if these guys have that same potential in them to be that player. We don't know this.
But that's where I like to see Herkovich and Dubois. You know, and then because that's the competition they're at right now. That's the competition that could effectively shape their career. Because win or lose, if you think you're the best, I'm a big believer in going out there and proving it. If you say you're the best, go out there and prove it. So fight the best. Fight the best. Fight the best prospects. Fight the best.
Guys, what do you guys think would be, if the young guys win two out of the next 3 fights? I'm talking about, Teo, Ryan, and Ortiz. Let's say like Ortiz beats Crawford and Teo beats Loma. Wouldn't that be a total indictment over the current generation of the quote unquote best of the best right now? It would just prove how bad they've been training.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of what I was saying too earlier, Kalua. Is that Posse Monster, man? Cut that shit out, bro. You keep breaking my concentration. That's part of what I was saying too earlier, Kalua, is that these younger kids are showing the level of dedication. Okay, when you look at some of these UFC fighters, right, and they're showing this dedication. They're showing it. Hey, man, y'all funny. They're showing this dedication, their desire. A lot of these young fighters are showing that, but they're not getting the opportunity because they don't have the Dana White Kaluzi to put them in that fight and make that championship fighter or that number 2 or number 3 contender fight these young guys. See, Dana White has the power to do that. So you have this young contender over there in the UFC, and Dana White looks at him like, okay, let me put this prospect in there with my number 5 guy. Now let me put my prospect in there with my number 3 guy. Okay, let me give him a title shot. That's the atmosphere in the UFC. But over here in boxing, Boots Ennis, prime example, because he's not signed to one of the majors, he's not even getting the opportunity, Kalua.
Yep.
You see, he don't even get the opportunity because he's not signed to one of the majors. Well, the prospects in the UFC, Kalua, don't have to deal with that, fam. And when you guys want to compare UFC and boxing, understand this, that dynamic alone, it changes the whole landscape of things. Because the prospects in the UFC, if you come off of Ultimate Fighting Champion, you're going to get your opportunity, period. You're not going to have to go to Bob Arum or Al Heyman or Eddie Hearn or jump through some fucking hoops to get your opportunity. If you do that, Kalua, you're going to get your opportunity in the UFC. It ain't going to happen like that in boxing. So all of you guys that want to make a comparison gotta take that into account, bro. Like that's why I like to stay away from that comparison because again, it's apples and oranges. It's apples and oranges, totally. Hold on, real quick, guys. Father and Jack, Hatchet. This is Mark. I seen this one before. Appreciate you, Mark.
That's a nice hacket.
Yeah, I like that one. That's the one I like. It reminds me of Doc on fucking damn that Michael J. Fox movie, Back to the Future, with the wild fucking hair and shit. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Kalua, and I'm not getting on the case Kalua because I hear this comparison quite often. You know, Alistair 4'9", he's in there, I think. He was in there earlier. He always makes this comparison with boxing to UFC. It's it's apples and oranges, really, bro. How the fights are made, how these guys get the fight, the level of desire, the difficulties as far as Bob Arum has way more to go through to get his fighter a fight than Dana White does. Dana White don't have to go through all of these hoops and all this hoopla and managers and networks and other promoters. Dana White don't have to do all of that. It's one fucking network. His.
I can
him.
I can see Dana White. I can see Dana White in a boardroom, and you have a picture of fighters. You have a list of fighters, weights and all that. There, they go. He'll fight him. He'll fight him. He'll fight him. He'll fight him. Call up the fighter. You're fighting him. Call up the next fighter. You're fighting him. Call up the next fighter. You're fighting him. You know, and that's it. Here, you know, how much am I getting paid? Same as last time. Same as last. Yeah.
James, James, put a comment in the chat again, James. I thought I did just give you a mod. I don't even see your comment in the chat. Just put another comment in the chat. Anyway, yeah, man. Yeah, again, I just say this, man. I say this. We know, like Tony Reviews came in and broke it down, like a lot of the difficulties that they face.
Yeah.
You know? So we know these things. Like we know the promoters, why they do certain things. It's just, I'm just saying from the fan perspective, and even my own, because I've given some of these young fighters some heat. I'm just going to look at things at a different perspective. Some of these young fighters, man, I say let them go.
Yeah.
Let them go. Let them take a loss. Let them go in there and get beat. Let Virgil Ortiz go in there with Crawford. Let him do it.
The other one too, these promoters have to do. It's just not sort of TV deal times, sort of arenas. That's another hurdle. Sort of venues. You know, not just TV time venue. You know,
Muay Thai.
with each other, them with the fighters. You know, sort of between promoter versus promoter, fighter versus fighter. Pay 60-40, A side, B side, bullshit. You know, there's just so much. There's just so much into making a fight. You know.
Real quick, Brian, hold on for a second. James, I have my son in the chat. James, your comment is blue already, fool. You already got a wrench. I knew I put it on there. All right, go ahead, Brian.
No, I'm just saying, you know, there's just so much into making one single boxing fight. There's just so much promoters have to go through, fighters have to go through. You know, pay is one, venue, sorting out an opponent, dealing with other promoters, dealing with television, you know, dealing with other, you know, there's just so fucking much that these guys had to go through to get one fight done. You know?
Yeah, no doubt. Nonito in the building. What's good with you?
So
okay,
you're anxious to find out who's this.
I got a question for you guys. Okay,
hold on right quick. Nonito, you there?
You're anxious to find out who's this?
No, I know who it is as soon as you spoke.
Yeah.
What's up, fam? How you doing?
Just chilling. Nice to catch your stream. Oh, I'm good. Hello to everybody. To you, everybody.
Yeah, so
Hi,
I
guys.
just wanted you to chime in right quick, official. Like, I don't know how long you've been in, but I was just talking about how, should we, as fans, restrict these young guys that want to go and fight the best, or should we release the reins and let them go? You know what I mean? Let them go and fight the guys that we may feel they're not ready for. But at some point, athletes know themselves better than we know them. They can understand the level of competition around them. They can see that certain guys are not training or as dedicated as they are, especially in this era right now. And should we let the reins go and let these guys go fight the best?
Yeah. So to me, it's a no-brainer. I clearly choose the second option because see, you can always make the always mention Fernando Vargas, who who kind of destroyed his career by fighting Trinidad so young, but as well, on the other hand, you have many opposite examples. Take, for example, the middleweights from the early to mid 90s. So many young, super talented fighters, and they did not have to, to wait for a big fight to come to them. What they were doing, and why the division was so great back in the days, because they were all young and extremely talented, and they fought each other at 20, 21 years old. So it's a no-brainer to me, man.
Well, the biggest example today is Canelo with the Floyd.
You can
of
say that
a young man, of a young man stepping into the ring and taking that old, but that was valuable boxing experience for that young man.
Sure.
Do you know how much he probably learned in that one fight alone?
Yeah, and kind of the same thing would be with Teofimo Lopez fighting Lomachenko, because I mean, yeah, you can make a case that psychologically Loma easily gets with his boxing into heads of his opponents, but he even if let's say Loma schools him, for example, he would not punish him to the point of deteriorating Teofimo's health, so it could be a learning experience at least, just like it happened with Canelo versus Mayweather.
I just got a notification. Apparently, Deontay Wilder has fired Mark Breland again.
Oh, again.
Oh man. Well,
somebody just made a video on that.
I'll tell you like this. Let's look at Devin Haney, right? Devin Haney has to fight well next. You see? With Teofimo running in there, getting ready to fight Lomachenko, with Ryan Garcia getting ready to go over here and fight Luke Campbell. With Devin Haney being the WBC champion, he can't be fighting another Santiago because he's going to get trashed. You better believe that whoever his title defense is has got to be a valid opponent, because with these young guns doing the things that they're doing, he can't be fighting like I said, can't be fighting Abilev or Santiago. No, that ain't going to cut it, man. He's going to have to fight well and defend well.
If Virgil Ortiz get down to 140, I'd be interested in seeing Devin Haney versus Virgil Ortiz.
But no, Virgil Ortiz is not going down, fam. He's going up.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying
now, and he's only going to 154 from here, which ain't going to be too long. But he ain't going back down.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's a dream fight for me, though. I think I would just love to see. I know he ain't going down, but if he could, I think that'd be a great fight.
Why don't Haney just go up instead of having Virgil go down?
He's a WBC champion.
That would be 2 weight classes, Kalua Z.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
sensible, bro. He's a prospect. Like he still has to move up the correct way. So as a prospect, jumping 2 weight classes is definitely a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Jumping 2 weight. Established fighters, you know, like when Floyd done it, or even Mikey Garcia with his crazy ass. At least he was an established fighter. He was a multi-division champion already. But as a prospect, you don't jump 2 weight classes. Fucking Virgil's sitting at 147 right now. That's 2 weight classes. Like he stays the hell away from Virgil.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
the WBC champion.
It's like, how are you expecting Virgil to drop down 2 weights, which is harder than going up? Instead of like even thinking about, oh, how could Virgil drop down? Why I say Shaney go up? Like, no, it just doesn't make sense.
Because Kalua,
he's the WBC champion.
Hold on, Brian. Your mathematics, the arithmetic must not be here, fam. Virgil would be going down 1 weight class. He's at 47. If he goes to 40, he's going down 1, and Haney's coming up 1. So your arithmetic ain't right. If Haney goes to where Virgil is, he's coming up 2 weight classes. As a prospect, it makes no sense. None of that.
Okay, I didn't know it was. I know like he said it was the middle, but yeah, there's just no way to drop.
No, I wouldn't do that. That would be crazy. Sacramento say he paid for this. y'all crazy. Father Duke McGuire. I love Boston. Mark. You're hilarious, bro. You the man too, dog. I appreciate that. Real Jimmy Mack in the building. He said, "What up, D? Hope you're having a good night." Always, bro. Damn right. Tonight is good. I'm trying to contemplate whether I'm gonna go live for this fight. It's gonna be 100 people going live, I'm sure.
Yeah. Maybe that's why StreamYard smashing up. Maybe there's too many people on it.
Yeah, I don't really care about when I go live and do live commentary. I'm not really concerned about how many people is going to be there, especially when YouTube is screwing with my channel. It's my turn now because my notifications ain't going out and all kind of stuff. But whatever.
I don't get a notification for this one, so
yeah, I don't really care about how many people join the live when I do live commentary. I just like to do it. But it's a couple of people going live for this fight tonight where I would actually like to join their live. That's what it is. And I don't really, I'm not sure if I really feel like doing commentary tonight. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood, right? So I have to see. I'm not sure.
I get that.
He said, Frank said, I can agree with all that regardless of his record shows. Porter is a dog, and he brings it. When he shows up in the ring, hell yeah, Sean Porter, hell yeah. Hold on, let me see what you say, Boxing Monster.
Fighter Ted Crowley.
I sent D Johnson an OZ of Kush for my yeah, buddy. I wish the hell you did. You might have gotten 2 wrenches if I could give you one for that, buddy. He said, D, you don't have to answer that to anyone. Oh, no. You know. Sakib in the building. What's up? He said, I just got home from work. You know what I mean? For the prelims, it's 1:18. What time is the prelims? Are they on now? I know the fight's going to be late. The main card, man, that's going to be late. Mark is flooding me. Hold on, guys. Mark flooded me today, as usual. Mark. Damn, I love you, Mark. Okay, Father Ted Crilly. Up the RA. Hey, man.
Up the rah.
Up the rah. The rah. Mark, I'm going to get a couple of beers. After this live, I'm going to get a couple of beers and a bottle of liquor and sip with the wife tonight. Not going to get drunk. I'll probably have that bottle of liquor for like the next month. Yeah. Because I don't even drink a lot. But shout out to you, Mark. That's going to be on my man, Mark.
I'm going to have to drink for a month.
He said, yeah, but my tired ass probably going to fall asleep mid-card. Give me your phone number, Sakib. I'll wake you up. He said the prelims are on right now. Okay. He might be military. I know what it is, 1,400, 1,800, 2,100. My family was military. It's easy to remember once you get the hang of it. Really, it's accurate. So Yeah, it's no confusion, like when you use the 24-hour clock scale, it's no confusion with 12. You say 12 o'clock, you don't have to say, is it AM or PM? Because it's 2,400 hours or it's, like it's 1 o'clock or it's 1,300 hours. So it's 0100 hours or it's 1,300 hours. They both mean 1 o'clock. There's no confusion of 0100 hours and 1,300 hours. So, it's
100 hours here.
yeah, it's easier really to tell you the truth. But yeah, man. So I don't know. I will say this about everything. I'm personally going to give these young guys a break. Father Ted Crilly, I believe Father Ted Crilly is going to give these young guys a break too. But me personally,
That's true.
As I look at everything, I'm going to give them a break because, look, man, I feel like if they want to do it, I'm going to start pushing for them to let them do it. I'm watching my guy do it because I've been advocating for Teofimo Lopez way before Tetley, Magdalena, or any of that. I've been saying, hey, this kid's special. And he came up and he started talking real brash. His dad is talking extra brash about what he's going to do and who he's going to fight. And I've been supportive of Teofimo, but I've watched him do it. And I think now it's time, with all the nonsense that we have going on in boxing, and these guys not being dedicated, to release the reins off these young fighters and let them attempt to accomplish. Because we're only going to get the next big superstar of boxing when we allow that next big superstar to be a superstar. If we keep holding them back and marinating fights and feeding them little bullshit fights along the way, then we're going to just continue to get this nonsense that we have. But if we release the reins, whether they rise or fall, we get to see that next star. And that's how I look at it with some of these young fighters, because they may be ready. Like I said, if Teofimo beats Lomachenko, everybody that was talking shit about him just 2 fights ago are going to be eating their words, because just 2 fights ago they told him don't even think about anything like that, kid. You got 2 or 3 years is what they were saying before you get in the ring with him. 2 or 3 years. Well, it ain't 2 or 3 years. He's getting in the ring with him this next fight. And if he beats him, everyone who said that about him were dead ass wrong. It could be the same with Ryan. It could be the same with Devin Haney. It could be the same with Shakur Stevenson. We don't know yet. These kids could be the next great thing, the next superstars, the next Ali, the next Floyd Mayweather. We don't know.
Yeah. At least fans are consistent 2 fights ago.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good, Tony. You all good, fam. And now you can always come back whenever you like. Black and brown boxing in the building. What's good with you, dog?
What's up, D? What's going on, fellas?
Hello.
What's up, man? So what's up, man? How long you been in? You hear what we talking about today? The young fighters. I'm talking about, like, the fans contradicting themselves. Like, I want this fighter to be great, but then they don't want to release the reins. They want to hold him back. They think it's too early to fight this guy. What is it? Do you want him to strive and be great, or do you want him to ease on up the road like Tank Davis did? What do you want?
Oh, Tank Davis is a bad comparison. You know, if you're gonna put that at the end of a road, then yeah, nobody wants that.
Right.
Nobody wants that, but.
Right.
But at the same time, okay, go ahead.
The reason I threw Tank Davis in, and this is why, because we see what happened with Tank Davis, right? So when you get guys like Ryan Garcia or Teofimo just 2 fights ago saying, I want Lomachenko. If you let them ease these guys along, and with the politics of boxing, they're 26 fights in, and now they're sitting there like a Tank Davis, where they're supposed to be good, they have this potential, but they're 26 fights in and 25 years old, and they have not really fought anybody. But along the way, fans will say, oh, he's not ready, he's not ready, he's not ready. So what is it? Do you release the reins and let them fight these great fighters? Or do you end up having 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Tank Davis situations?
Yeah, I just think it's a little early to compare any of these top guys, the guys that you're mentioning, the Virgil Ortiz, Shakur Stevenson, Haney, Garcia. To mention any of those top 4 guys to Tank Davis is just a little bit unfair. But if that's what you're going to put at the end of the road, that's fine. Then we can set that the goalpost there. You know, like, all right, fine. Hell no, nobody wants to see none of these kids turn into Tank Davis. And I don't think anybody sees any of these kids turn into Tank Davis. I think the potential for all these kids, the ceiling is so high for all these kids. I think they're all blowing Tank Davis in the dust. And that's why today you see, we're talking about 21 and 22-year-olds. We're not talking about Tank Davis. He's not even in this conversation.
He's only 2 years older than them, fam.
That's what I'm saying, D. Why are we talking about these guys more than we're talking about him? You know, like I understand why you're using his name because obviously,
Black and Brown. I think you're missing the point, fam. And that's what I want. I was trying to get you to the point of this discussion because first you came in a little late. First, we're not talking about these guys in the light of what you're speaking of. I'm talking about the fans. Okay, so I think you got the wrong perspective of today's conversation. What I'm talking about is the fans are saying, I want these guys to be great. They want to see the nostalgia of the 80s eras, the 90s eras. You know, they want that nostalgia to return to boxing. They want to see these young guys compete and fight the best and achieve like the fighters did of the past. But then when you have guys like Ryan Garcia that would rather fight a Luke Campbell, the WBC route, than dick around with the WBO route. When you have a guy like my guy Teofimo Lopez, who just 2 fights ago said, I want to fight Luke Campbell. And just 2 fights ago, many of the fans, Luke Campbell, Lomachenko, and 2 fights ago, many of the fans was like, no, this kid's crazy. He ain't ready for that. So the fans at the same time want to see this greatness, Black and Brown, but then they don't want to release the reins on these kids. So I think we missed the concept when we're not talking about Tank versus them. That's not the discussion. It's from the fans' perspective. Do we release the reins or do we keep these restrictions on the kids? That's where we are in this discussion.
No, I know that, but you add Tank Davis to it, so then it's like if we don't release the reins, then they turn into Tank Davis. And I wasn't
saying that, Black and Brown. I was just using an example. Okay, well let me give you this example then, Black and Brown, because I wasn't.
No, it's cool, D. I don't need another example.
Well, for the other fans, hear me out on this perspective, because other fans may have that perspective too, or that I was suggesting that. So let me.
Yeah.
Okay. I was not suggesting that, but let's look at it like this with the Jerron and his boots. How many fights does Tank Davis have? I believe 25 fights. Is that right?
24, 25, yeah.
Right. Jerron and his boots have 25 fights. Now, again, I explained earlier before you jumped on, Black and Brown. Jerron and his boots' problem is that he is not signed to the majors. So the majors are not giving him a bone. They're not throwing him a bone, a good fighter that he can beat up and establish himself, because it's pretty much the politics of boxing that wants to force this kid into signing with a major. But with that being said, being that Tank is only a couple of years away from these kids, if he gets 32 fights in, Black and Brown, still with nobody under his name, regardless of if it's fair or not, Black and Brown, he will be looked at as this Tank Davis type. Do boxing and not proving it. Whether it's fair or not, this is what will happen. And this is because of the fans' demand. So I want to keep, that's why I mentioned Tank Davis. Because the fans have a certain demand, they're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt when he's 25 years old, 34, 35 fights in, and he ain't fought nobody. They ain't giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
They still going to keep the fight.
Okay,
That's
so
what I want Tank Davis in.
Okay, so let me just speak on the what I call the Fab Five, the Shakur. Let me just speak on these guys real quick. In my opinion, I think they're being moved perfectly, and that's why they're at the top of the game. That's why they're being spoken about so much, because they haven't fought for championships yet, besides Teofimo and Shakur, right? But the names that these guys are beating, they're not just beating absolute trash. Like Virgil Ortiz has a few okay names on his resume for being 22 years old. Same with Ryan Garcia, same with Devin Haney, and same with Shakur and Teofimo. I think Shakur and Teofimo are positioned a little bit better. They're with Bob Arum. He has more opportunities for them. And so, that's why they've gotten the bigger fights. And to end this, I'm going to end it with this, D. Teofimo's dad is very, very aggressive with his career. So just because Teofimo Teofimo's dad's super aggressive with his career. We can't hold it against the other guys for not being just as aggressive. Like, we have to still let them move the way they're moving, because we gotta remember they're only 21 and 22, and they're in these huge spotlights already. Okay, these other guys that are in the top of the boxing game, Terrence Crawford, Earl Spence, a lot of names you can name who are at the top of the game. They weren't in the spotlight at 21 the way these 5 kids are.
Yeah.
So I think these 5 kids are being moved perfectly. I think that, Teofimo is ahead. He is definitely ahead of the 5 because he's had the opportunity, and his dad's a freaking maniac. You know, like, whatever, like, that's cool. He's moving his son in the way he wants to move his son, and all due respect to that, you know, to them, the way they're doing it. But I just don't want to hold it against the other 4 because they're not moving the same way, because they're still moving perfectly fine for 22-year-olds.
Yeah, so let me go back again.
Sorry.
This is not about holding anything against no other fighters, man. This is a fan's perspective, because as you just said, now listen to what you just said. Teofimo dad's a maniac. Okay, was
Reminds me
Customado?
of Danny Garcia's father.
Who is that? Hold on for a second. Hold on.
Sorry. I just said he reminds me of Danny Garcia's father.
Who is that? Who is that talking?
Me, Ryan.
Brian, hold on for a second, fam. Let me get this out. Hold on.
Okay.
Was Customado a maniac, black and brown?
I'm not saying it in a bad way, D. I don't mean it in a bad way.
Black and brown. Just, I'm not coming at you, bro. I'm just.
No, I know. I hear you. I hear you, D. It's all good.
Do you think Customado was a maniac?
You know, depends on if I watched enough of him. I don't mean maniac in a bad way, though.
Customado was a maniac. I think Customado was confident in Mike Tyson, and in the field of fighters that he saw around, he was confident that this guy could do what he could do. Okay, I don't think a lot of the boxing greats in the past, themselves or their trainers were maniacs or anything. They just felt that at an early age, these fighters could do what they felt they can do. And I don't think that Teofimo and his dad are any kind of maniac, and it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is fans want to see these fighters accomplish greatness like the Mike Tyson, like the Muhammad Ali. But then at the same time, they have this. Who is this with the noise? The noise is killing me, bro. Put yourself on mute if you got all that noise. That's just killing me. So the fans want to see this greatness like they've seen in the past, but then at the same time, they want to have this idea that these guys are being moved perfectly. When do we release the reins is what I'm saying. Like, maybe some of these guys are not being moved perfectly. Maybe they need to be moved a little faster.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Teofimo is the only one of these young fighters that could have done this. I hear people that like Devin Haney defend Devin Haney, and the fact they say, well, I think if Devin Haney had the opportunity that Teofimo had, he would be. God, if whoever this is, like, I'm getting ready to kick somebody off the fucking panel, bro. Really, like, the noise in the background. Just put yourself on mute. Like, that's disruptive. But with the Devin Haney situation, you hear people saying that Devin Haney could have done what Teofimo did. He could have beaten Richard Coleman. He could have gone in there and he could probably beat Lomachenko just the way Teofimo did, but he didn't have the opportunity. But then on the same token, they say that these other fighters are being moved. No, well, give them the opportunity. Let them move ahead faster. Don't make Ryan Garcia take the WBO route because it's easier, because it's a safer challenge. Let him take the tougher challenge. And Luke Campbell, let him take the tougher challenge, which is the WBC route. Let Shakur Stevenson move up and fight the tougher guy. You know what I mean? This is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that if these kids feel confident and their team feel confident, let's stop this nonsense with this era of these kids need to move the right way. No, man. We can't at the same time as fans say that this era of boxers are behind. They're not as dedicated. They're not. So when these kids are coming up and they are dedicated like the fighters of the past, let them breeze through these bullshitters that we have this era. That's not dedicated in between fights. That's not gym rats. Let these young kids breeze through them because they feel confident that they can breeze through them. It's just fans say, no, they're moving right. Well, if they move right too long, regardless or not, they're going to end up in that Tank Davis scenario with 29, 30 fights, 25 years old, and they ain't fought a goddamn fight that's worth anything. That's what will happen. And then these same fans that are claiming that they're moving right, they're going to be crucifying these guys later when they're 25 and 26 and they haven't fought the better level of competition. So when do we release the reins? When do we
25.
do that? No.
25, dude.
Look, again, that's the misconception that is that right or is that wrong? Because you cannot restrict it to 25, black and brown, and this is why you can't restrict it to 25. Because the greats of the past that we're searching for did it before 25. And we don't know as prospects if they are one of those greats or if they are. So if we set a standard at 25, we may miss that next great. We may miss that Ali. We may miss that Spinks. We may miss that Tyson. We may miss that Teofimo Lopez. We may miss it because we're restricting it to 25, saying that this is the age. That wasn't the age with the greats of the past. So why does that have to be a restriction now?
Yeah,
I think sorry.
Sorry for interjecting, but yeah, I have to take this side definitely, because look, when you're saying that if Teofimo's father is pushing him that far, it doesn't mean that we have to hold these other young guys to the same standard. But that's the problem. It's that today's standards are low. And I'm not like someone who's trying to be nostalgic or anything, but it's true, man. Before, like 20 years ago, even 10, 15 years ago, you have young fighters being less protected, and they were more willing to have fights. So if you go like Haney or Davis, it means that by the end of your career, by the age of 35, you're probably going to have 2 or 3 big fights. Why not instead start fighting good fights from 24, 25 years old, and then have a much better career, greater career, where you're able to have like 10 A-level opponents and probably get some lose some fights, but you have to dare to be great in order to, I'm not saying that all these young guys are on the level of Mayweather or anything, but they at least have to try, to find out if they are on that level or not, because there's no sense in babysitting them.
Yeah.
So, okay, out of the 5 guys we're talking about, whose resume are we really, whose resume do we not like? Out of the 5 kids.
Hold on, black and brown, because again, you came in late, so it's not just a particular 5. So I don't even want you to start basing. I mentioned Hergovich, I mentioned Jalalov, I mentioned Daniel Dubois, and this is why I said I think you're missing the concept. It's about young prospects in boxing in general, not about certain fighters, not about certain Tank Davises or Devin Haney's. It's the idea that these young prospects in boxing today are under the requirement of fans to achieve greatness, but also under the same restrictions by these same fans. Restrictions that will prevent them from being great like the fighters that they want them to be great like. How can you want a fucking Hergovich to be great like Mike Tyson, but at the age of 22 and 24, you don't want him to fight the best? This is what I'm saying. Like, how do we want these young fighters of this era to be great like the fighters of the past, but we are not willing to release the reins? We want to set a restriction at 25 before they can even attempt to start proving themselves. When Mike Tyson didn't have that restriction, Ali didn't have that restriction, Sugar Ray didn't have that restriction. These guys did not have this restriction. The fans want to put on these young fighters. I'm saying release the reins. If you want them to be great, if you want them to fight the best, if you want them to move up that reins and get to that title, let them all achieve like Teofimo. Don't call this dad a fucking maniac. Let these guys step up.
Yeah.
D, real quick, D, 2 things. Two things, D. You just put the start at 25 when I put the cap at 25. When the guy hasn't had a big fight and he's 25, that's a red flag. That's all I'm saying. That's my point. If he reaches to be 25 and he has hype around him and he hasn't had no championship fights at 25 and he doesn't hold no belt, that's a huge red flag. Now you just put the start at 25 when I put the end at 25. And the second thing, D, is you are making it sound like if I'm said Teofimo's dad is a maniac in a bad way. I've said it numerous times. I do not mean it in a bad way. I just mean it. He's super aggressive with his son's career. That's all I meant by that. I didn't mean it in a bad way. So please stop trying to make me an enemy of Teofimo Lopez because I'm not. And then you say you don't want to make it about certain fighters, D, but you're the one bringing up certain fighters. So it's hard to talk about a whole group of young talent when you keep bringing up certain fighters.
Okay, black and brown. First off, Doug, I think that everyone else on the panel, trust me, Brian has been here, the other guys have been here. Now, again, before you start getting defensive and upset, you're missing the fucking concept here. The rest of the guys keep agreeing when I tell you you're missing the concept. And you are, man. Again,
I've been listening to the show for 2 hours.
Gauging the concept of what we're talking about here. That's the only reason I keep coming back to you. Because Brian is on page, everybody's on page. I think you're just off a little bit on
I'm not a yes man. I'm not a yes man, D. I'm not a yes man. I never will be.
Fam. This is what I'm saying. This ain't no fucking debate. I'm just saying that I don't think you're talking about the same things we're talking about. And for some reason, you're getting defensive over this shit. I just think you're missing the concept. That's all.
Well, D Jefferson, the only reason I'm getting defensive is because you're using things that I'm saying and you're throwing them back out there. That's the only reason, D.
All right.
That's the only reason I'm getting defensive.
I will not even mention you again because you still missing every fucking point.
All right, D. All right, D. It's all good, man. It's all good, D. You do you, brother. I enjoy listening to your show, D. D. It's all good. I'm gonna keep listening. I'm gonna keep listening, brother. I'm gonna keep listening.
That's excellent. You're too defensive though. But if you're gonna get on the panel and we having a discussion about a topic and you're not on the fucking topic, then I gotta keep coming back to you, fam. That's why I keep coming back to you, because Brian understands what the fuck we're talking about. Nonito understands what the fuck we're talking about. And even Raider probably understands what the fuck we're talking about. But for some reason you didn't. That's why I kept coming back to you. I don't have to keep coming back to Brian or none of them because they know what the fuck we talking about, and I don't think you did. God damn, bro. Like, damn. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Brian, you get it? No,
Yeah,
Nico, you
yeah.
get it?
No, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, he kept veering off like he was in the wrong direction, and we won't fucking talking about that stuff. So that's the thing. Raider, what's up with you, fam?
What's up, guys? I'm confused now. I think you guys are talking about two different things.
Yeah, that's what happens. Let me
Yeah.
pause this out, Raider, so that you're not confused. That's what happens when guys get on the panel and veer the fuck off of the topic. And that's what I was trying to keep Black and Brown from doing, confusing the fuck out of everybody, anybody that just comes in. So, Raider, I'll explain to you what the topic is, and I'm sure you'll get it. The concept of the show is younger fighters, the fans' perspective. A lot of fans want these younger fighters to achieve and move forward in boxing, but they want to put restrictions on them. It's like contradictory to what they want. They want to say, oh, he's too early. He shouldn't be fighting him. They want to call, guys like Teofimo's dad, overzealous, moving too fast. But then when Teofimo gets to the point where he's accomplishing this is what make great fighters great. They do it early. They do it fast. They're phenomenons. If as fans we put this restriction on them, isn't it kind of contradictory to what we actually want? That's the topic. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you, Raider?
Can I
Yeah,
say
did you
something?
hear me or no?
Come on. Go ahead,
Hello?
Ray.
Yeah. No, I think Black and Brown was just saying how they move certain fighters, like Tank or whatever.
Yeah, I know what he was saying, Raider. But I don't want to fucking talk about that, fam. That's how you come in confused. When Black and Brown is sitting up here talking about that, and we're on a different fucking topic, and you join the panel and you say, what? I'm just a little confused.
Yeah, we're on the fans'
You see
perspective.
what I'm saying, bro? So, I'm not trying to pick on nobody or nothing, but if we're talking about a fucking topic, and then people keep veering off, then people jump in and they don't know what the fuck we talking about. So what's the point of that shit, bro? Like, this is stupid fucking confusions and arguments we don't need. I'm not going to sit here and argue back and forth with nobody about what my goddamn topic is of the day. I know what the fuck we were supposed to talk about, so let's stick to it. That's all I'm saying, bro. What the hell? This is just, like, we're not going down this stupid fucking line. So let's not talk about the black and brown situation, and let's talk about boxing, because I keep hearing this shit happen on other channels. Let's talk about the topic. So what you got to offer about the topic, Raider? Jesus Christ.
No, yeah. I guess. I mean, I think Black and Brown was right what he was saying, but I know what you're saying. You know, he was veering off to another topic. But yeah, back then they everybody was fighting everybody, and peace fighters today they're like more. I don't know what it is. Is like it's not back then. It was more about championships. You know, everybody was fighting everybody. Everybody wanted to get that championship, and now it looks like it's easier to get a belt because there's so many. And it's more about money and trying to get a belt, but there's so many belts out there that's why some fools don't want to fight other fools. You know what I mean? Because they can easily go somewhere another route and get it different ways.
To Raider's point, if I can, for example, today's a lot of boxers what they're doing is they're staying at level 1 for as long as possible in their careers, and they want to. At one point, when the possibility comes to jump to level 5, meaning fighting an A-level fighter, they want to do that. You know, keep it safe up till that opportunity comes. There is no more, you know, going gradually. You know, first you fight bums, then you up the level of your competition. So that part is missing nowadays. All of them, I mean, not all of them, but most of them are like so protected that they're trying to keep it safe up till 28, 30 years old, and then at their 30s to fight, finally fight an A-level fighter.
Right.
Just like D said. Remember D when you told me about Tank Davis fighting on easy mode? I remember that. So yeah, it's like an arcade game, him fighting on easy mode right now.
Right, and that's why I mentioned him. I said because, you know, if you put these fighters, like I said, like Jerron in his boots, because of politics and everything, he has 25 fights already, but there are meaningless fights. Ayabov was his last opponent. You know what I mean? And so you get the Wilder syndrome. 30 wins, 30 knockouts, and they're all fucking meaningless. You know what I'm saying? Like, when do we get to the point where we release the reins on these kids, bro?
When we feel like they're ready.
Brian, you breaking up. Here's the thing. You might have to go out and come back in, Brian, because you sound muffled. I don't think that these kids, like when I look at the scope of boxing and what's going on, we look at Errol Spence. When Errol Spence was coming out screaming, trying to get the Keith Thurman and the Danny Garcias and the Sean Porters, and the PBC literally made Errol Spence wait 5 years. For all we want to fucking holler about the PBC and everything, let's be clear with this. They literally made Spence wait 5 years, the PBC freaking model, before he got that big fight with Sean Porter. And he had been screaming for Sean Porter. He'd been screaming for Danny Garcia. He'd been screaming for Keith Thurman way back when. But 5 years passed, and now he gets to fight with Sean Porter. He beats him, and he's a two-time champion at 147. But Spence is 30 years old now. And at 30 years old, as a two-time champ, you still have people questioning the validity of an Errol Spence. You still have people questioning him. Well, who is he really beat? Blah, 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 blah. You still have people questioning Spence. So do we want to see this with Teofimo, Ryan Garcia, Devin, Haney? Do we want to see them get 30 years old and they've only fought 1 or 2 mediocre fights and people still questioning them at that age? Is this what we want? No, that's not what the fans want. What the fans want is for them to be great. So release the goddamn reins and allow them to be great. You cannot keep demanding that they be great, but then at the same time, you want to hold the rein back. You want to set standards. You want to say that they need to be 25 or 26 before they do this. Y'all understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, that's why I say, you know, they should fucking. That's why they need to come up with like a tournament, a playoffs in fucking boxing, dude. And they need to do that. That way they don't say, oh, this guy didn't fight this guy, and you know, just have
Yeah,
a
super
playoffs
super
and
six in
boxing
every
would be-
division. Yeah.
Hold on, I'll be right back. Go ahead, take over for me, Raider.
All right. Yeah, no, like I was saying, guys, you know, a fucking playoffs in boxing would be fucking humongous, dude. In every division, you know, like eight fighters, you know, and
Yes.
they fight throughout the year, and then they crown a champion at whatever time it is. You know what I mean? Maybe you can have like the lighter divisions in the beginning of the year, the middleweights like in the middle. You know, just every division go out and have fights throughout the year, man. I mean, shit, that'll be huge, dude.
That would be massive. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, the only problem I think with that is all these sanctioning bodies trying to get together and and promoters and networks trying to make this happen. You know?
I believe I said this before. Could you imagine Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, and Al Heyman in the same room?
And Oscar.
And Oscar De La Hoya. There is no room in the world that can hold their four heads.
Yeah,
they're massive, you know. You know, they're massive egos.
Oh, you are.
Yeah, and then on top of those guys, having the network guys there too. You know what I mean? Like them trying to host the fights. But I mean, if other sports can do it, why can't boxing do it? You know, every sport has it, playoffs. So I mean, I don't understand why it cannot be done. I mean, it could be done, but it's just too many greedy rich people.
I think at the time we are in boxing right now, man, a tournament structure in every goddamn weight class would be beautiful right now.
Hell yeah!
I agree.
You know, the problem that people have with the tournament structures is that it's not a lot of money in it. Well, there ain't a lot of money in boxing right now, so the tournament structure would be perfect because it's not a lot of money to be captured. So you put these tournaments on, it damn sure brings back the relevance to boxing because now it makes guys fight each other. You know what I mean? And that structure is not that expensive. This is what the complaint is, but it'd be perfect for boxing right now, in my opinion. Tournament structure.
We would have 12 or not 12. How many divisions is there? 17 divisions?
17.
Yeah, imagine 17 fucking huge fights every year, like championship fights.
Yeah,
for every division. That's at least that'll be fucking dope.
Yeah,
the tournament for boxing would be the perfect thing right now. The perfect thing, and even like so, you got these champions, and guys will be like, "Well, no, these champions." Okay, well, even set up a tournament structure and every sanctioning body, and then that guy gets the fight no matter what. It'll still be exciting. Because you go to the top 5 guys, they got to get in the tournament. So it's like tournament after tournament after tournament. Tournaments would be perfect for boxing right now.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry. Can you put it like this here, right? Boxing, especially the fans, are so fragmented right now. Could you imagine now if you put that tournament aspect in? Now you got David Haney fans in the ring. Then you got Ryan Garcia's fans, suddenly interested. Then you got Philip Herkovich's fans. Then you got Daniel Dubois fans. Suddenly boxing becomes all in one.
Can y'all hear Brian, or is it just me?
Yeah, I can hear him.
I can hear him, but he's kind of muffled.
Yeah, I can't hear him either. Raider can hear Brian. Something like I can hear you, bro, but barely. Like it's kind of muffled, fam.
Okay, I might just take off my earphones and.
Yeah, it might be the earphones because you all sounded like that earlier.
Hey, is it just me or does D look like kind of fuzzy to his picture?
No, it's my hat is green underneath, so the green screen is messing up my green screen. See that?
No, I'm not talking about that. I know what that is. I'm talking about just you look like choppy, like super choppy, and like it looks like you're on 144 feet.
That's a cheap ass phone.
Hey, can you hear me now?
It's that cricket phone I got. Huh?
That's a cheap phone, dog.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, fam.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I took off my earphones. I think that was the problem. What I'm saying is you have right. You know, way boxing fans are so fragmented. You have Devin Haney fans. You have Ryan Garcia fans. You have uh, Daniel Dubois fans. You have Philip Herkovich fans. You have. If you bring all these aspects together and these guys are fighting each other, suddenly boxing becomes one whole. Suddenly these fans are interested in a tournament aspect of boxing. This guy's fighting that guy. That guy's fighting that guy. That guy. Suddenly all the fans come to one. It brings in more fans if you do it this way. They may say there's no money in it. I think if you get the fans interested in who these guys are fighting, I think instead of these guys fighting bums.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I had tried to
Uh,
come up with like a kind of a little plan of how that would work, because you got to put into an account too that these boxers can be fighting 10 times a year, for these
Yeah.
playoffs. So it would have to be at least, I don't think more than 4 fights a year, maybe 3, So I was thinking in the playoffs, since there's going to be 8 guys for each division, like the top 8, the four champions for the 4 sanctioning bodies automatically get in, and then the 4 next that are on the bottom for each sanctioning body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then let them do a little tournament, and that way there's only like 3 or 4 fights until
Yeah.
the crown a winner, and you could do that every year for every division, and then that'll guarantee every fighter uh a fight, and then like the losing 4 won't make it, and then like the next coming guys will make it. Like for next year, the guys that are coming up, and then
Yeah,
obviously the 4 winners would advance again.
Oh,
Yeah.
choked him out. Choked
Yeah.
him out. He is out. He is out. This dude trembling. They call him the paramedic.
Let's go.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh
You can
sorry,
do
guys.
many. You
Y'all
can do
know
many.
I'm a UFC
Yeah,
fan, so I'm watching the fight. This motherfucker just got choked all the way out. I'm talking about that type of choke. Woo, boy.
Hey D, I got the best flip phone around, man. What you talking about? I got
All right, man.
I got the
Look,
best one.
look, y'all do this right quick. Alistair, I know you just jumped in the building, so I'll let you start off first with the closing thoughts, because I'm getting ready to get up out of here. These fights getting too excited, and I don't want to keep losing focus, because I've been watching the fights the whole time. I want y'all to know that shit. But this dude just got choked all the way out. So give me some closing thoughts, Alistair. I'm going to go around the table. Give me some closing thoughts, man.
It's been a great live as always, man. But hey, man, it's perfect timing because it's about to go down. Usman versus Jorge Masvidal, man. Scarface versus the Nigerian Nightmare. Let's go. What's going down?
Yes, let's go. Let's go. I'm going to be there, Alistair. I might just do some commentary. I don't know, Alistair. I don't know if I want to talk about the fight or enjoy the fight. People keep asking me if I'm going to do commentary. I'm not sure yet. Y'all check in about an hour. If y'all see the live go up, then I'm doing commentary. If not, I might just do a live and sit here and talk and enjoy the show with y'all, but I might not do no commentary. But anyway, thanks for coming through real quick, Alistair. Nonito official, give me some closing thoughts, fam.
I just want I really wanted to make 2 quick points earlier about the fights. I'm gonna keep it real quick. First point is that when you have the big promoters with their household names in those divisions, it's really difficult to make a tournament. Let's be realistic, because take for example the bantamweight tournament. The only guy that was missing was Top Rank's Filipino guy, because Bob wanted to keep him out of that. On the other hand, look. Let's take welterweights, for example. We would all agree that the division is not as good as it was 10 years ago, but there are a couple of very good names at the top. So although the division is not as good, it would be amazing if because those would all be competitive fights. So that's all, and thank you for having me on, bro. And please let me know if you have a PayPal, because I cannot donate on YouTube. Google is playing with my card, so please let me know.
Well, I appreciate the mere fact that you intend to donate official. I don't have a PayPal, I have a Cash App, and then just this, but just the thought counts, bro. I really appreciate that sentiment. I appreciate you coming through, fam, and joining the panel. Brian Harkin, give me some closing thoughts, buddy.
I think for some, right, just say we take Daniel Dubois, Philip Herkovich. Tyson Fury has got a full load going on, and so does AJ, because he's got AJ has a mandatory coming up, and then possible fight with. For some of these guys, it's impossible to get the big fight. So I think if you can't get that, then Herkovich and Dubois, I think that would be a perfect way to maybe make your name and get your name out there to fans. Because I think for some of these young guys, for the casuals, a lot of people don't know these guys. So what better way than fighting each other to get your name out there? Once you get your name out there and you become that prospect, then maybe you can step up. For a lot of people, like we know Shakur Stevenson, we know Devin Haney, like some of them are Ryan Garcia, they're household, they're basically household names, mainly due to Instagram and all that. They're nothing really they've done in the ring. But they got their names out there. But a lot of casual fans don't know about the rest of these fighters, if you know what I mean. So why not fight each other, make it a big event? Maybe promote it as two hot young prospects. Get something in there. Maybe the next big thing's in boxing. And maybe future title shots on the line. But I think we should. I think when they're ready, I think that's when their promoters, their trainers, and all, when they're ready, I think that should be the mentality of them, because it's their job also to protect the fighters. But at the same time, you have to believe. At the same time, they have to believe in the fighters.
Facts. Hey man, y'all some clowns, man. Yeah, no doubt, Brian. I hear you, man. I'm just laughing at Boxer Monster and Sandy.
Yeah, no, that guy's always roasting.
Oh my God, he's always roasting. Raider from LA, give me some closing thoughts, fam. We on the preliminary UFC 251.
Hey, Black and Brown, don't even trip, man. They don't know what he's talking about, They didn't take his medicine this morning, so give him a pass, my boy. Nah, but hey, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Whenever you go live again, probably Monday. See what's up. See what's cracking. All right, you guys have a good one. Peace out, boy. Late.
Oh yeah, Carlos. I don't know. It's a really good movie. I don't know. It's a good movie. I used to be a really big movie buff at one time, Carlos Mendoza. I just used to watch movies just to watch them, old movies. I would go to the library in Maryland because we could get free movies. It was on the military base, so it was free rental. You could rent the movies. And I would go there and rent the movies for free. And I would just rent anything and everything. So I ended up watching that movie. But anyway, guys, great discussion. 2-hour live, little short live, talking about these young guns. I say get a young guns a little break is what I say. But real quick, before I end this thing, Champ Ross in the building. I ran the ticker, so everybody reading that ticker at the bottom, it's the Fantasy Boxing Prediction League. So everybody watching the playback, we down at the end of this season. I screwed up and missed a fight. I went for the gusto, and Whitehead let me down. But it is what it is. Still got tonight. But come join the Prediction League. It's still not over to the Zoe. The fat lady ain't saying yet. It's a tight race. Just the way we like it. Y'all come join the Prediction League, Fantasy Boxing Prediction League on Facebook. If you don't have a Facebook account, Champ Ross, you can go see him at Champ Easy, what is it? Champ, put your thing in. Champ EZ22 at yahoo.com. So Champ put it in the chat. But guys, I'm going to go watch some UFC. Y'all know how I always in this thing. For the love of sports, let's talk about it. Peace.